Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. What is the Magic ecosystem? Who is in it? How do they interact? How do they help or hurt each other? And what helps or hurts which group of the people in the ecosystem? And this is kind of a foundational topic that I think we need to discuss, and it's definitely preparatory to some other videos that I want to make coming up soon. And so, what do I even mean by Magic ecosystem? Well, it's all of the different parties that interact to bring Magic cards into existence and then get them in our grubby little hands, whoever we are. And so, first off is someone who is kind of forgotten in this process from time to time, but their role is slight. They're the first person in the process. Who are they? Are they WotC? No, the first person in the process is the printer. Yeah, it's the companies that actually print the cards. So WotC gives them the intellectual information, the artwork, print sizes, money, things like that, and then the printer produces cards, and then the printer sends those cards to WotC. You know, so the cards flow this way, money flows backwards up that way, and then WotC receives them in the United States. They receive them in their infamous warehouse in Austin, and then they hoard them there secretly, and they then send them out to who? The distributors. So, distributors. Alright, so they flow this way. The distributor's job is to just take all of these pallets and truckloads of cards, break them down into smaller sizes, maybe pallets, cases, that kind of order, multiple cases, and send them out to who? The next person in the chain? The retailers. Now, none of this is particularly groundbreaking. This is how it works in every industry for most products. Most of the time you have someone who designs the product, someone who produces it, and then you have a distribution network, and then you have retailers whose job is to interface with the lowly end customers. And this could be your local card store, it could be an online box breaker, it could be people, I guess, like Rudy, people like that. And so then you go out into what we might call the end users, and it's this. Now, the end users, it will be typically individuals, but they will fall into three groups. And of course, first, since these are TCGs, we have players. Yes, people who actually use these pieces of cardboard to play a game. I've heard of them, but we have those. And then we have collectors. We'll see if I can actually spell all of these words right. Collectors. And as you can tell, there's some overlap. Hey, some people play and some people collect. I would not say these are to scale, and certainly the overlaps are not to scale. You know, you can imagine yourself as some percentage of player, some percentage of collector, and some percentage of the third, which is investors, which is what we're chiefly concerned with here. And so, you know, everybody to some extent actually probably falls in here. We enjoy playing these games, we enjoy to some extent collecting, and we enjoy investing. And I will note that for collectors, I mean people who acquire the cards with no intention of financial gain from them. They collect them because they love collecting them, which would probably be a lot of people in the Pokemon world. They collect full sets of cards, they collect the trainer galleries, or they collect all the secret rares of a set or something like that because they love having binders of them. They're not really concerned with the financial value. Now, some of their motivation may be financial value, and to the extent that they have some of that motivation, that will fall under investors. So it's important to call out that distinction. And so if we think about this, to some extent, investors actually function as retailers because, you know, we sell some of this product back into these two groups too. So this kind of blurs over. And to the same extent, maybe, you know, Channel Fireball played this game for many years where they're a distributor, but then they also sell at retail, and so this kind of blurs together. And, you know, WotC sells on Amazon direct to the customer through the Amazon marketplace, and so, you know, that kind of blurs together a little bit at times. So this isn't hard, fast, it's not set in stone, but it's a good general theory for how all of these groups kind of interact with each other. And so now we have to ask ourselves, who benefits from price increases? when WotC says we are going to raise the price of Magic cards, who gains? Who benefits? Well, WotC benefits because they can shore up their margins. They can increase their profits potentially, depending on how many additional expenses they've taken on since the last time they increased the prices. So WotC benefits, and of course investors benefit from price increases because we're sitting on hundreds of booster boxes of cards, and when the prices come up, the rising tide lifts the value of all of those old boxes also with them because of just economic substitution. If someone says, well, the new set's a little too expensive, I'll buy some of the last set, or the set before that, or the set before that, on and on and on backwards. And so it slowly lifts the price of all the rest in line. Who's neutral on price increases? Well, the printer is neutral because he just charges the service of producing the cards. So when WotC raises the price, the printer doesn't really care. He's just there to turn cardboard into Magic cards and then send them on to WotC. Also, to a great extent, the distributor doesn't care. The distributor is just looking to pass the product through, break it down into smaller quantities, and make a margin. And so when the distributor is told by WotC, hey, prices are going up, he just tells the retailer, hey, prices are going up. So he's not terribly concerned. Now, the retailers, they have kind of a mixed attitude towards price increases. It's beneficial in that, in the same way WotC can use it as an opportunity to shore up their margins and maybe increase profits a little bit, the retailer also has to deal with the ire of all of these people, the end users who walk into the store, see the prices higher, and complain. And so to that extent, it's kind of bad for retailers, but it's kind of good in some aspects too. And who's it negative for? Well, the last two, the players and the collectors, because they're the ones who just want to have the cardboard in their hand long term, so price increases means they get less cardboard. So we have to try and think about these different groups, their different motivations, their different investments in this system, and how these different questions affect them differently. So the second one, who suffers from a lack of supply? Well, the investor benefits from a lack of supply because, again, if supply is drying up, he's sitting here on all of these old boxes that he does eventually want to sell one day. And it raises the price of them, and he likes that. So investors benefit when there's a lack of supply. Who loses when there's a lack of supply? Well, the printer misses out on the opportunity to make them. WotC misses out on the opportunity to sell them. The distributors miss out on the opportunity to distribute them. The retailers miss out on the opportunity to retail them. And this is something especially you'll see a lot. I've seen both Rudy at Alpha Investments say this, and I've seen Mason over at Cardinal Gaming, which is another channel you should subscribe to. Both of them say, I just wish I had enough product. I wish I had twice as much product. I wish the market prices were lower and I could just make the customers happier. And so the retailers do really feel that they miss out when there's a lack of product. And then the players and the collectors, they of course miss out too. They suffer for a lack of product because they then have to pay higher prices, or maybe they can't even get what they want. And so you'll see this is a different distribution of who wins and who loses than it was for the original question of who benefits when prices increase. So who benefits from too much supply in the system? Well, it's good for the printer. He gets to print a lot of cardboard, so he likes that. It's good for the investors because you can often pick up things at lower prices because there's too much in the system. Then you just expect to sit on it for a couple years. Eventually the system will flush out, it'll go out of print. There will be fewer subsequent print runs because there was too much printed to start with. And so investors like that. Players and collectors obviously like there being way too much product in the system because, well, they can get it cheaper. They just want the product. And when there's too much in the system and they can buy an $80 draft box, they absolutely love that. But too much product in the system, it's bad for WotC, it's bad for distributors, and it's bad for retailers, all for the same reason. All three of them have a business model predicated on selling this product, the same as investors do, but these three participants, they do not want to hold on to the product. Their business model is turning product. It's WotC designing new products and selling them, and then distributors getting product in by the truckload and sending it out by the box or pallet load, and it's retailers turning it at the retail level for their profit margins. All three of these groups want to move product quickly. They don't want to sit on it. And so when there's too much supply in the system, all three of these groups end up tying up precious capital sitting around in product that isn't moving. And we've seen that a lot. Just, Crimson Bow's a great one to pick on. Crimson Bow draft boxes have been in the low 80s for, like 9 months now. And it's bad for all three of these groups that are sitting on the product and just have capital tied up, capital that they couldn't use to buy additional Double Masters 2022 and turn for a quick 25% profit. So you have to think about it in terms of this ecosystem, who works together, how do different things benefit different people, how do different things hurt different people, what are the motivations, how do these lines blur between these groups. And like I said, this is kind of going to be foundational for some other videos I have coming up, but I needed to kind of lay this out explicitly so that everyone was on the same page, understanding just who is involved here and what power do they have and what influence and how does stuff work through the system. So let me know what you think. If you disagree with any of this, or if maybe there are some other good points that I just don't know that I missed, let me know. Otherwise, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot.